Wednesday. It is April 21st, and we are going to be doing our mentor read aloud for today. And this is still part of our Unit 9 on needs and wants. So, our story today is a big book, and it is titled Munchy Millie. So, I want you to think what Munchy Millie might be about. Make a prediction in your mind. What does it sound like? Who are the maybe the main characters? We hear Millie, so you might be thinking that there is somebody in this named Millie. So we're going to go ahead and take a look now at our big book. So here we have Munching Millie, and we can see on the front cover that we have a picture of a goat. And we can see that this is an illustration, so we know right away that this is not a real story. This is a fiction story, and in this story, it might have people, it might have all animals, we don't know yet. So see if you can make a prediction. Look at Millie, look at the title. It says Munching Millie. So when we hear the word munching, we know it must have something to do with eating, something to do with eating. So we're going to go ahead now and we are going to listen to the story.
Benchmark Education Company presents Shared Reading Contemporary Stories. Follow along as we read the book. Turn the page when you hear this sound. Now, let's read. Munching Millie by Brenda Parks. Illustrated by Christine Tues. Millie was a beautiful pet goat, but she had one bad habit. Millie loved munching. She munched Dad's jeans. She munched Mom's sweater. She munched Grandpa's newspaper. She munched Grandma's hat. She munched the neighbor's flowers. Dad yelled, "Millie's a menace. That goat has to go." "No!" cried the children. "No! Please, no!" The children came up with a plan to keep Millie. They asked their neighbors if they had any munching jobs Millie could do for them. The children soon had a list of jobs. On Monday, Millie helped pick apples. Then she munched some for her lunch. On Tuesday, Millie munched some overgrown blackberry bushes. On Wednesday, Millie munched a lawn. On Thursday, Millie helped pick melons. Then she munched some for her lunch. On Friday, Millie munched on some old posters. On the way home, she had some other little munches as well. On Saturday, Millie rested. It had been a very busy week. In the morning, she napped under her favorite tree. In the afternoon, she played with the children. On Sunday morning, the family took Millie to the farmer's market. She had a wonderful time. In the afternoon, the children made a list of munching jobs for the week. Millie's munching problem was solved. Well, almost.
All right, so I hope you enjoyed the story of Munching Millie. And we see in this story, like we did in the story about Marcus, is that the children had a problem. We're going to go back to the beginning of the story, and we're going to talk a little bit about and look at the details in the story, and also what happens at the beginning, the middle, and the end. So we understand and we know that Millie has a problem with munching. We see on every page she is munching something, from Dad's jeans to Mom's sweater, Grandpa's newspaper, Grandma's hat, her neighbor's flowers. And finally, Dad says Millie's a menace, which means she is a huge problem and that the goat has to go. So we see that at the beginning of the story, back here on the first few pages, it shows us all the things that Millie munches on. So that's the beginning of the story, what Millie munches on. She munches on everything. Then the middle of the story, Dad says Millie has to go. But the children, of course, are upset. So how do they solve the problem? If you guessed that they came up with a list of things that Millie could munch on, that is correct. The children get munching jobs. They make a list of the things that are okay for Millie to munch on, and then they figure out how to provide those things for her. So their idea is that if she munches on things she's allowed to munch on, then maybe she'll stop munching on the things she's not supposed to munch on. So they post the list, and sure enough, their neighbors provide. They find that there are apples for her to munch on. On Monday, she helps to pick apples and munches those for lunch. Tuesday, she munches blackberries. Wednesday, the lawn. Thursday, helps to pick melons and then munches some of her lunch. Friday, she's able to munch on old posters. And then on the way home, she even had some other little munches as well. So the end of the story, Saturday, she rested. Forgot about that. And then she played. So Sunday, it talks about, on Sunday morning, the family took Millie to the farmer's market. And in the afternoon, she made a list of more munching jobs. They made a list of more munching jobs for the next week. So the end of the story shows that now Millie has jobs and she is able to munch for work. And basically it solves her problem. However, it says now that Millie munches for work, her munching is not a problem like it used to be. But we see she still likes to munch on some things that she's not allowed to. But it basically solved her problem. All right, the second part of our lesson today is going to be on focusing on the first thing that Millie munches on. What we're going to do is we're going to make a chart here, display a chart. So I have a chart here to show you. Looks like this. And it says Millie can't munch, and then Millie can munch. So that's what the chart is. It's about the things that she can't munch on and then the things that she can. So think for just a moment of what you remember from the story. What was the first thing that Millie was not supposed to munch on? Think first, and then we'll turn back. And we will look at the very beginning. Whoops, went too far. All right, so the very first thing was Dad's jeans. What was the next thing Mom's sweater. That would be number 2. How about number 3? Grandpa's newspaper. That's correct. And the 4th thing? Grandma's hat. And then, of course, we see her munching on the neighbor's flowers, and the neighbor does not look very happy. So those are the 5 things that Millie is not allowed to munch on. Dad's jeans, Mom's sweater, Grandpa's newspaper, Grandma's hat, and the neighbor's flowers. But then, as the story goes, the children come up with a list of jobs of things that she can munch. So think, what were the things that they showed in the story? Let's go through and we will name them together. On Monday, what is she able to munch? If you guessed apples, that is correct. On Monday, apples. On Tuesday, blackberry bushes. On Wednesday, the lawn. On Thursday, melons. And then we see her even munching on old posters on Friday. So if we return to our chart, we see that Millie can munch on apples, blackberries, people's lawns, melons, and old posters. So this is just an example of how we can make a 2-column chart showing what Millie can't munch on and what Millie can munch on. This helps us to see a separation between these 2 things so that we can better understand the story that we're reading. And the last thing that we're going to take a look at with our story of Munching Millie is, again, thinking about how she had a problem, like in the story of A Gift for Mom with Marcus. We mentioned that at the very beginning. Okay, we have a text question that says, what is the problem in the story that the children have to solve? So right away, through our other discussion, we know that the problem has something to do with Millie, and it's something that has to be solved. So we look for the problem and then how it can be fixed. So if we go back at the beginning of the story, on the very first page, whoops, not there, I went too far again. It says, Millie was a beautiful pet goat, but she had one bad habit. Seeing that one bad habit gives us a clue, towards the problem. As we read on, we find out that the bad habit is what? If you guessed, Millie's munching, and that she eats everything she seems to come in contact with, we discover that that's probably the problem. And again, we see all the things on this page that she's munching on that she's not supposed to be munching on pages 2 through 4. This talks about all the things that she's not supposed to be munching on. So after we find out what the problem is, what was the solution to the problem? Well, right away, Dad says we have to get rid of her. Dad says, I can solve that problem fast just by getting rid of her. But of course, the children are very sad and they don't want to get rid of Millie. So it says, what solution does Dad have? Dad's is to get rid of the goat, and describes Millie as a menace. Does that happen? Did they get rid of the goat? The answer is no. We see our final text evidence question is this, and it reads, I can't seem to bring it up, is what was the solution the children came up with? That is the final text evidence question. And the solution they came up with was to find jobs for Millie to do that she's allowed to munch on. It says Millie's to-do list. So these are the things she's allowed to munch on, and she can do those things without getting into trouble. So one last time, we had a problem that Millie munched everything. Millie munched everything, and that was the problem in the story. Dad's solution was to get rid of her, but of course the children came up with a better solution. And their solution not only allowed Millie to happily chew and munch on things she's allowed to munch on, and help the neighbors maybe to get rid of some of the things they don't want, but also it allowed the children to be able to keep Millie with them. And so that's the end of our reading today, boys and girls. I hope you enjoyed reading about Munching Millie, and we will see you next time, and have a very happy Tuesday. Bye-bye for now.